Welcome to Fragile Bonds, to the powerful stories of family, love, loss, and the choices that shape our lives. Now let's begin today's story.
On a June afternoon, Sarah Collins was working on photo editing in her living room. 5 years into her career as a freelance photographer, she'd found a good balance between work and raising her son. Outside the window, her 8-year-old son Tyler was playing in the yard. Her cell phone rang. It was her sister Emily. "Sarah, I need to ask you a favor." Emily's voice sounded a bit tired. "Could you watch Noah this summer vacation? Work's been really hectic, and Mark's traveling a lot too." Sarah looked away from her screen and gazed out the window. She could see Tyler kicking a soccer ball by himself. "Of course. Tyler will be thrilled. He'll be over the moon when I tell him Noah's coming to play." "That's such a relief, Sarah." "Thank you." There was a note of relief in Emily's voice. Sarah's house was in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The spacious yard of the single-family home had plenty of room for children to play, and there was even a small pool in the backyard. 3 years after her divorce, Sarah had built a life for herself and Tyler, using her home as both workspace and residence. Photography work could mostly be done from home, giving her plenty of time with her son. That was what mattered most to her. A few days later on Saturday morning, a black sedan pulled up in front of the house. Out of the driver's seat stepped Mark Parker, Emily's husband. "Thanks for doing this, Sarah," Mark said as he helped Noah out of the back seat. 6-year-old Noah stood there with a small backpack, looking a bit nervous. "Don't worry. Noah and I will have a great time." Sarah smiled at her nephew. Just then, Tyler burst out of the front door. "Noah! You're here. Let's play." Noah's expression brightened immediately. His nervousness melted away, replaced by a small smile. "Yeah." Mark laughed with relief. "Well, see you later. Be good, Noah." "Okay, bye, Dad." Mark got in his car and drove off with a wave. Sarah watched him go, thinking what a good father he was. Even with his busy work schedule, the way he valued his family always came through in his manner. The first few days were wonderful. Sarah, Tyler, and Noah spent every day playing in the pool and enjoying picnics at the nearby park. One day the three of them went to the movies and watched an animated film. Munching on popcorn, Noah watched the screen with shining eyes. "Aunt Sarah, this is so much fun!" Noah shouted as he climbed out of the pool, splashing water everywhere. "I'm so glad," Sarah answered, handing him a towel. "Noah, come back again," Tyler said happily. In the evenings, the three of them would sit on the living room sofa watching TV. Sometimes Noah would rest his head on Tyler's shoulder and fall asleep. At those moments, Sarah would look at their sleeping faces and feel grateful for these peaceful days. But on the 5th night, Sarah noticed a subtle change in Noah's behavior. It was after dinner, while they were watching TV in the living room. She noticed Noah looking anxiously out the window several times. "Noah, what's wrong?" Sarah asked gently. Noah quickly put on a smile. "Nothing." But that smile looked somehow forced. Sarah thought he might be homesick. It must be lonely for a 6-year-old to be away from his parents. She didn't press further and gently patted Noah's head. "If you miss your mom and dad, you can tell me anytime." "Okay." Noah nodded slightly. That night, as Sarah was tucking Noah into bed, he looked out the window again. Through a gap in the curtains, the quiet street illuminated by streetlights was visible. Sarah noticed Noah's small hand gripping the sheets tightly. "It's okay, Noah. I'm right here." "Okay." Noah closed his eyes, but his expression looked tense somehow. Sarah looked at Noah one more time before leaving the room. His small body was curled up under the covers. She thought Noah would feel better tomorrow and quietly closed the door. The next day at dinner, Sarah noticed Noah's condition had gotten worse. Chicken, mashed potatoes, and green salad were laid out on the table. These were Noah's favorites that he usually ate happily, but he wouldn't touch his plate. "Noah, aren't you hungry?" Sarah asked with concern. Noah nodded slightly, but the hand holding his fork didn't move. "Noah, this is delicious." Tyler took a piece of chicken from his own plate and showed it. "It's Aunt Sarah's specialty." But Noah shook his head. His complexion looked a bit pale. "Are you feeling sick? Do you have a fever?" Sarah stood up and put her hand on Noah's forehead. "No fever." But something was different. It wasn't just physical illness, something deeper seemed to be troubling him. After dinner, while Sarah was washing dishes, Noah stood by the living room window. Looking outside again. From behind, his posture seemed far too tense for a 6-year-old child. His small shoulders were rigid, as if he were on guard against something. "Noah, what are you looking at?" Sarah approached, drying her hands. Noah turned around. "Nothing." His voice was small and seemed to tremble. "Noah, let's play a game." Tyler waved a game controller from in front of the TV. "Let's continue from yesterday." "Okay." Noah answered weakly, but even after starting the game, he couldn't concentrate at all. He seemed to be looking at the screen but wasn't really seeing it. His hands held the controller, but his character didn't move. Sarah sat on the sofa watching the two of them. Was something bothering him? But what could be troubling a 6-year-old child? Maybe the loneliness of being away from his family was building up. She decided to call Emily tomorrow and talk about it. That night, around 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. When Sarah opened the door, her neighbor Daniel Foster stood there. At 65, he was a former police officer who still looked out for the safety of the neighborhood even after retirement. Gray-haired with a gentle expression, but with sharp observational skills. "Sarah, got a minute?" Foster's voice was low and serious. "What's wrong, Mr. Foster?" "I've been seeing a suspicious car around here lately," he said, looking up and down the street. "A black sedan. It's been driving around this area several times." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. A suspicious car. Yeah. Driving slowly, sometimes stopping and looking around. "I checked the license plate, it's not from this neighborhood." Foster frowned. "Just to be safe, make sure you lock up tight, and let me know if you notice anything unusual." "I will. I'll be careful. Thank you for telling me." After Foster left, Sarah checked the door locks. She went around making sure all the windows were locked too. A black sedan. She didn't know what it meant, but anxiety was definitely spreading through her mind. When she returned to the living room, Tyler was already asleep on the sofa. Noah was sitting on the landing of the stairs. "Noah, you're still up?" Sarah called out gently. Noah looked up. His eyes were red, as if he'd been crying. "Aunt Sarah." Noah's voice was hoarse. "What's wrong?" Sarah sat on the stairs and settled down next to Noah. "Are you worried about something?" Noah opened his mouth as if to say something but immediately closed it. His small fists were trembling. It seemed like something too big for a 6-year-old child to bear was crushing his heart. "Aunt Sarah," Noah called out again. "I'm right here, Noah." Noah paused as if searching for words. But in the end, he said nothing. He just shook his head slightly and repeated, "It's nothing. It's okay. If something's wrong, you can tell me anytime. I'm on your side, Noah." Noah nodded. A single tear ran down his cheek. "Good night." "Good night, Noah." Sarah watched Noah go into the upstairs guest room before heading to her own bedroom. Even lying in bed, she couldn't fall asleep easily. Noah's behavior, Foster's warning, and the image of Noah repeatedly looking out the window, it all swirled around in her head. Was something about to happen? Or was she just overthinking? Sarah stared at the ceiling, repeating questions that had no answers. In the middle of the night, Sarah woke to a sound. Looking at the clock, it was past 2 a.m. Faint footsteps could be heard from the hallway. Opening the door, she found Noah standing by the hallway window. He'd lifted the curtain slightly and was looking outside. Noah. Noah turned around, startled. His face looked pale in the moonlight. Can't sleep. Sarah approached. Aunt Sarah, I'm sorry. Noah's voice trembled. You don't need to apologize. What's wrong? Did you have a bad dream? Noah didn't answer. He just pointed out the window. There. Sarah looked out the window. The street was silent. Streetlights illuminated the road, and a few parked cars were visible. Nothing unusual. What do you see? A car, Noah said quietly. A black car. Sarah's heart jumped. The black sedan Foster had mentioned. But now, there was nothing outside. It's not there now, Noah. It was there just a minute ago, Noah's voice held certainty. I was watching. Noah, Sarah knelt down to meet Noah's eyes. Do you know something? Can you tell me? Tears spilled from Noah's eyes again. He shook his head. I can't say. If I do. If you do, what will happen? Noah didn't answer. He just threw himself into Sarah's arms. His small body shook violently. Sarah held her nephew tightly. She didn't know what was happening. But one thing was certain. She had to protect Noah. No matter what. It's okay, Noah. I'm here with you. Sarah took Noah to the guest room and put him to bed. The next evening, Sarah was preparing dinner. Looking from the kitchen into the living room, she could see Noah and Tyler sitting on the sofa. But Noah still seemed restless, checking the clock repeatedly. As if he were waiting for something. At 6 o'clock, the three of them sat at the dining table. Sarah had made meatloaf, green beans, and mashed potatoes. A home-cooked meal with warm steam rising from it. All right, let's eat, Sarah smiled. Tyler immediately picked up his fork, but Noah just stared at his plate without moving. His complexion was even worse than yesterday, and his lips were trembling. Noah, are you okay? Does your stomach hurt? Sarah grew worried and stood up, placing her hand on Noah's forehead. Still no fever. Noah didn't answer. He just silently shook his head. Noah, what's wrong? Tyler looked concerned too. You haven't eaten anything since yesterday. Just then, Noah suddenly stood up. He walked over to Sarah's side and stood on his tiptoes, bringing his face close to her ear. Noah's small voice reached Sarah's ear. Aunt Sarah, you should hide right now. Sarah's whole body froze. What? Why? She looked into Noah's eyes. There was a desperate fear in them that didn't belong to a 6-year-old child. Please, Noah's voice was urgent. Hide outside the house. Right now. What's going to happen? Noah, tell me. But instead of answering, Noah pulled Sarah's hand hard. That small hand felt stronger than ever before. Mom, what's wrong? Tyler stood up anxiously. Sarah looked into Noah's eyes. Those weren't the eyes of someone lying. He was serious. Something terrible was about to happen. She didn't know why. But she had to trust him. Tyler, we're going outside right now. Sarah's voice trembled but was firm. What? Why? Just do it. Don't ask questions. Sarah took both their hands and headed for the back door. It was a summer evening, and it was still light outside. Once in the yard, Noah pointed toward the bushes. Over there. The three of them hurried to hide behind the large bushes at the back of the yard. The branches of the shrubs blocked their view. They could see the house, but from the house, they couldn't be seen. It was the perfect position. "Mom, what's going to happen?" Tyler's voice shook with fear. "I don't know." Sarah pulled them both close. "But it's going to be okay." Noah was trembling violently. Sarah put her arm around his shoulders. "Noah, who's coming? Tell me." Noah started to open his mouth but couldn't form words. He just pointed toward the road with a trembling finger. "Soon," he whispered. "They're coming." And then, it really happened. A few minutes later, a black sedan slowly made its way down the street. It stopped in front of Sarah's house. The engine stopped, and silence fell. The driver's side door opened. The person who got out was Mark Parker. Sarah's heart nearly stopped. "Mark?" Her brother-in-law carefully looked around. He checked the house windows and surveyed the street. It seemed like he was confirming no one was there. His movements were careful and calculated. This wasn't a casual visit. "Why?" Sarah murmured in a low voice. "Why is Mark?" Mark took something out of his pocket. A key. Sarah's house key. When had he gotten it? She remembered. A few months ago, there was a spare key she'd given to Emily. Mark didn't go to the front door, he headed for the back door. His steps showed no hesitation, as if he knew the layout of this house perfectly. "I can't believe this." Sarah's voice trembled. The sound of the back door handle turning could be heard. Mark was entering the house. In the bushes, Noah sobbed quietly. "I'm sorry," tears streamed down his cheeks. "I'm sorry, Aunt Sarah." Sarah looked at Noah. "Noah, what's going on?" Noah forced out the words. "Dad's trying to do something bad." The meaning of those words slowly sank into Sarah's mind. Mark, her brother-in-law, was breaking into her house. Noah had known. That's why he'd warned her. Through the window, Mark's shadow could be seen moving inside the house. He entered the bedroom and opened drawers. He was looking for something. His movements were quick and practiced. "Mom, Uncle Mark is inside the house," Tyler whispered. "Why?" Sarah couldn't answer. She couldn't believe the reality. She'd thought Mark was a good husband and a good father. She'd thought he loved Emily and cherished Noah. But now, he was breaking into his sister-in-law's house, trying to steal something. Mark opened the closet next. He pushed aside clothes, searching the back shelf. Sarah gasped. On that shelf was a jewelry box she'd inherited from her father. Sarah's hands shook. She took out her smartphone. The screen looked blurry. Her fingers wouldn't move properly as she tried to dial 911. "Hello, 911. What is your emergency?" The calm voice of an operator could be heard. "Hello." Sarah's voice was hoarse. "I need help. Someone broke into my house." "Where are you now, ma'am?" "I'm hiding outside with my son and nephew." Sarah kept her voice low in the bushes. "We're in the bushes in the backyard." "Is the intruder still in the house?" "Yes." Sarah tried to steady her breathing. "The intruder is." The words caught in her throat. If she said this, everything would change. Emily's life, Noah's life, everything would change. But she had to say it. "The intruder is my brother-in-law." The operator sounded slightly surprised. "Your brother-in-law?" "Yes. Mark Parker. He's my sister's husband." "Stay where you are. Police are on their way. Don't approach the house." After hanging up, Sarah held the two children tight. Noah was crying silently. Tyler was frozen with fear. Inside the house, Mark was still searching for something. Sarah's heart felt like it was being torn apart. Why, Mark? Why would you do this? The sound of sirens could be heard in the distance. It gradually grew louder, bringing tension to this quiet residential neighborhood. Mark looked out the window. His expression changed. Panic. He'd realized something. The siren sound drew closer. Red and blue lights began reflecting on the street. Sarah held her breath in the bushes. Holding Noah and Tyler tightly, she waited for what would happen next. The patrol car slid to a stop on the street. Police officers got out of the car and quickly surrounded the house. Guns drawn, they approached carefully. Inside the house, Mark could be seen through the window in distress. He put both hands on his head, pacing back and forth in the room. He seemed to be looking for an escape route. After a few seconds of silence, the back door slowly opened. Mark came out with both hands raised. His face was pale, sweat running down his forehead. Wait. I can explain. Mark's voice trembled. Officers quickly approached and made Mark lie on the ground. The sound of handcuffs echoed in the quiet night. Mark didn't resist. He just kept repeating, "Let me explain." "Ma'am? Are you Sarah Collins?" A young female officer approached the bushes. Sarah stood up with the children. Her legs were shaking, and she could barely walk properly. "Yes. I'm Sarah. Are you all okay? Is anyone hurt?" "No, we're fine. Thank you." The officer looked at Noah and Tyler. "These are your children. This is my son, Tyler. And this is my nephew, Noah." Sarah placed her hand on Noah's shoulder. Noah stared at the ground, tears streaming down. His small body shook violently. "I'm sorry, Aunt Sarah." Noah's voice was hoarse. "I'm so sorry." Sarah knelt down and hugged Noah. "You didn't do anything wrong, Noah. You protected us." The officer looked at Noah with kind eyes. "You did the right thing, son." Near the patrol car, Mark was surrounded by other officers. An older detective was questioning him. Sarah took the children's hands and headed toward them. "Why did you break into your sister-in-law's house?" The detective's voice was stern. Mark answered with his head down. "I needed money." "So you decided to rob your own family?" "I have debts." Mark's voice grew smaller. "From gambling. I've accumulated debts I can't repay." Sarah gasped. "Gambling. Did Emily know?" The detective continued. "How much?" "Over $100,000. Mark looked up. His eyes were hollow. Loan sharks started coming to the house. Emily and Noah were in danger. "So I needed money." "So you knew about the jewelry?" Mark nodded. "I knew Sarah had inherited jewelry from her late father. I heard it was worth $200,000. With that, I could pay off the debt and still have money left over." Sarah's chest ached. Her father's keepsake. That's what he'd been after. The detective frowned. "And you used your own son to help you?" Mark shook his head. "No. Noah wasn't supposed to know." Just then, Noah stepped forward. In a small voice, he said, "I knew." Everyone looked at Noah. "What did you know, son?" The detective asked gently. Noah began to speak in a trembling voice. "I heard Dad talking on the phone. He said, 'I'm going to steal money tonight.' I was scared. But I wanted to protect Aunt Sarah." Tears overflowed from Sarah's eyes. A 6-year-old child, knowing about his father's crime, had tried to protect her. "So you warned your aunt?" "Yeah. Noah nodded. Dad told me to say, I want to do fireworks after dinner. While everyone was outside, Dad was planning to come in. But I didn't say it. Instead, I told Aunt Sarah to hide. The detective took a deep breath. You're a brave boy, Noah. Just then, car headlights illuminated the road. The sound of sudden brakes, and a car stopped. Emily jumped out of the car. Sarah. Noah. Emily ran over. Her face was wet with tears. Are you okay? We're fine, Emily. Sarah hugged her sister. Emily looked at Noah and picked him up. Oh, Noah. My baby. Then she looked at Mark. Her husband, handcuffed, standing by the patrol car. Mark. Emily's voice trembled. What have you done? Mark looked away. Emily, I'm sorry. I was trying to protect you and Noah. Protect us. Emily's voice grew louder. By robbing my sister. By using our son. If the loan sharks came, you would have been in danger. So this is how you protect us. By becoming a criminal. Mark didn't answer. He just stared at the ground. The detective approached Emily. Ma'am, did you know about your husband's gambling problem? Emily shook her head. I knew he sometimes played poker with friends. But I didn't know it was this bad. He always said everything was fine. He owes over $100,000. Emily nearly collapsed. Sarah supported her. Ma'am, we need to take your husband to the station, the detective said. He'll be charged with breaking and entering, and attempted theft. Emily nodded. The tears wouldn't stop. As the officers were about to put Mark in the patrol car, Mark turned around. Noah, he called to his son. Dad is sorry. Noah turned his face away in Emily's arms. He said nothing. Mark was pushed into the patrol car, and the door closed. Amid the flashing red and blue lights, the car drove away. Silence returned to Sarah's yard. All that remained were the fragments of a broken family. Emily buried her face in her sister's shoulder and cried. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know, Emily. Sarah rubbed her sister's back. You didn't do anything wrong. Noah was still in Emily's arms. His small body wouldn't stop trembling. Tyler clung to Sarah. Foster walked over from the neighborhood. Sarah, everyone all right? Yes, thank you, Mr. Foster. Your warning helped. That black sedan I saw, it was Mark's car. He shook his head. I should have realized. No one realized, Sarah said. But Noah realized and protected us. Foster looked at Noah. You're a hero, young man. Noah looked up. His eyes were red and swollen. I'm not a hero. I just didn't want Aunt Sarah to get hurt. Sarah gently stroked Noah's head. You were truly brave, Noah. That night, Sarah, Emily, and the two children sat on the living room sofa. No one spoke. They just quietly tried to accept what had happened. The truth had come out. But that truth was too painful. Family bonds had been tested, and some had been broken. But at the same time, new bonds had formed. A 6-year-old boy's courage had prevented the worst from happening. Outside the window, the night deepened. Tomorrow, a new reality awaited. But tonight, all they could do was lean on each other. 1 year later, in the summer, children's laughter once again echoed in Sarah's yard. Aunt Sarah. Tyler. I missed you. 7-year-old Noah burst out of the front door. We missed you too, Noah. Sarah hugged her nephew. Emily smiled from behind. The divorce proceedings had been completed 6 months ago. She was now starting a new life with Noah in a new apartment. Sarah, thank you so much, Emily took Sarah's hand. Thanks to you and Noah, I was able to see the truth. Emily, you and Noah are strong. You both did so well. Mark Parker had received a 2-year prison sentence for breaking and entering and attempted theft. He was receiving treatment for gambling addiction in prison, but his letters to Emily still said, "I was just trying to protect my family." To the very end, he continued to justify his actions. Noah didn't want to see his father. Letters from Mark were stored in a box, unopened. One afternoon, Noah sat next to Sarah. "Aunt Sarah, I did the right thing, didn't I?" he asked in a small voice. "Of course. You were so brave." Sarah gently stroked his hair. "But is it my fault that Dad's in prison?" Sarah faced Noah. "No, Noah. Your dad made his own choices. It's not your fault." Tears welled up in Noah's eyes. "Noah," Sarah continued. "You protected us. At 6 years old, you had the courage to do the right thing. That's what family does. We protect each other." Noah nodded while crying. "I love you, Aunt Sarah." "I love you too, Noah." At dusk, the four of them went out into the yard. Tyler brought a big bag. "Hey, let's do fireworks." For a moment, everyone froze. Fireworks. The word Mark had tried to get Noah to say that night. But Sarah said with a smile, "Okay. This time, let's really do fireworks." As night fell, the four of them gathered in the yard. When Tyler lit the fireworks, colorful lights rose into the night sky. Noah looked up at the fireworks with a smile. The fear from that night was gradually healing. "This is family," Sarah murmured quietly. "Yeah. We're family," Tyler responded. Noah gazed at the fireworks and said, "I'm happy." Emily whispered, "Thank you, Sarah," through her tears. Sarah hugged her sister. Looking up at the night sky, Sarah thought, that night, Noah had chosen her over his father. A 6-year-old child had chosen to do the right thing beyond blood ties. Mark had been family by blood, but he'd betrayed their trust. But Noah had protected his family beyond blood ties. Real family isn't about blood. It's about relationships where people protect each other and trust each other. Noah wasn't her son. But he was definitely family. As the fireworks colored the night sky, the four of them stood close together. From the fragments of a broken family, new bonds had been born. Those bonds were stronger than blood and more precious than anything. Trust, courage, and love. That was the true meaning of family.